Why, hello, hello, hello. Once again, it's your guy. It's the Coach Ty A, and I am here with my rib unit, my lovely wife, the most beautiful, intelligent attorney I know.
Hello, everyone. It's me, Nicole. Thank you for joining us again.
Want to sit down and put another video out real quick just to continue to encourage and support parents as you're out there homeschooling your children when you weren't really ready for it, most of you. So, want to take some time and discuss some of the things that we do as a homeschooling family. Some of the reasons why we began homeschooling and the tools and the methodology, I guess I would say, that we take when it comes to homeschooling our children. We've talked a little bit about the Amy approach, and we've mentioned things about that. That's kind of what we've dubbed our process when it comes to how we decide on what we want to do when it comes to our children's education.
Right, almost as if we're a corporation and we have our mission statement.
Yeah, we have our mission statement. We have our system. Mm-hmm. We've kind of developed a system and a path in which we're taking when it comes to educating our child. We've talked about a few of the building blocks to the Amy approach in other videos. We've talked about communication skills. We've talked about work ethic. We talked about the ability to and the love of learning, which are two separate building blocks in the Amy approach. And we've also talked about work ethic a little bit. Not work ethic, but goal setting. We talked about goal setting before in a previous video, and we'll link that in the comments. We wanted to revisit goal setting in light of everyone now being home with their children and being in charge of education. We're seeing more and more states are pulling the plug for the remainder of this school year, with the beginning of the next school year also in jeopardy for some schools. So I want to take a little bit of time and talk about goal setting.
Yes, goal setting, it is something that we all have to do. We all set goals for different areas in our life. If we're fortunate, then we are able to choose what we would like to do, and then we have to make a plan for accomplishing whatever our goals are.
Now, goal setting is critical, we believe, in developing leaders, because leaders have to be the goal setters in any organization. As Nicole mentioned, we all set goals to ourselves. A lot of times it may just be a thought that we want to do, or we may not necessarily go through the process and sit down of setting a goal and doing a goal setting exercise, but we all have goals, things that we want to accomplish. Mm-hmm. The difference in those who are successful in life really comes down to who can actually sit down, create the plan, and execute the plan to accomplish their goals.
Right.
This is why we feel goal setting is such a major part of the Amy approach when it comes to how we want to make sure our children are educated and developed. We want them to be goal setters.
Right. And what's the saying? There are a million good ideas.
A million, I believe. I heard this from Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban said this on one of those, I think, like fish tank shows or one of those investing shows. And he talked about there are a lot of people, millions of people that have millions of great ideas. They have millions of dreams and things that, that'd be a great idea. There's very few of those millions of people who have the ability to set a goal, create a plan, and execute a plan to accomplish the goal of that idea. Right. And that's the difference between the millionaires and the not. Mm-hmm. Those who can actually take those great ideas, develop a plan, and execute that plan in order to accomplish that idea or to accomplish that goal. Mm-hmm. So once again, this is why we feel goal setting is such a critical part in the development of your child if you are hoping to raise and develop a leader.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So once again, goals come. Goals come from ideas. Goals come from dreams. Dreams, turn into goals. Goals turn into plans. Plans turn into accomplishments if you can execute the plan successfully. This is why goal setting is critical. Now, when it comes to goal setting, kids often, sometimes, depending on how old your kid is, some people, my kid's too young to start setting goals. And
no, not at all.
That's not the case at all.
Right. Children come with goals. When they're infants and they're reaching for something, they've set a goal of something they want to reach for. When they're crawling and they're crawling in the direction of something, they've set a goal. When they become, able to use pen and paper and they're drawing something, they've set a goal. So throughout the developmental stages of a child, they identify something in their mind that they want to reach for and accomplish, and that is where they began setting goals. Now, as parents, we either help them reach those goals, or sometimes, for safety reasons or for time reasons, we tell the child, stop, that's not a realistic goal. You can't do that. You're too young. You can't do it right now. And so as parents, It is our job to identify when our child has set a goal and help to nourish the goals the child has set, and to help them develop the skills to set goals and go on the path to being able to execute those goals.
A lot of goal setting and being able to accomplish goals is just the belief that you can. Mm-hmm. The belief and the freedom to feel that I can set my own goals. Now, a lot of times, if your child isn't really comfortable or isn't familiar, maybe things have happened that they haven't really explored goal setting, maybe you haven't with them to this point. So maybe in order to start the process, and a lot of times parents will do this to a fault. They'll be the main source of their children's goals. They push down goals on their children. And while some children can have success with this in that area, the goal is to develop a child that is setting their own goals, not just strictly working to accomplish your goals, because now you're raising someone that's going to be looking for someone else to give them their goals. Right. Their goals need to be intrinsic, and that's what we talked about in our previous goal setting video, the difference between extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. You want the goals to come from an inner place, and your job as the leader of your family and the leader of your child's education, when it comes to goal setting, if you might have to spend some time and give them a few goals just to help them develop the process and understand how, here's my goal, now here's the plan for me to accomplish my goal. Let's celebrate the success on you accomplishing the goal that I gave you. Now, what's your goal? Now that you accomplished my goal and you've seen how to accomplish a goal, now what is your goal? Right. And how can we help plan for you to accomplish your goal? Because your role as a leader, in all ways, everybody that you lead, you want to remove obstacles and help those that you lead to accomplish their goals. You hope as a leader to create an environment where their goals support your ultimate goal as the leader. Your ultimate goal as the leader of your family and as the person responsible for your children's education is to develop people who are at a minimum going to be able to go be successful in life. Right. Goal setting is a critical key to allow them to be successful in life.
And as parents, we might have bigger goals for our children than they might have for themselves, but we want to encourage them when they're learning to develop the goals, because from those small goals comes growth. So even if your child has a goal of, something you might consider minor, like, oh, I want to go outside and, water something. And you're like, well, you could go and plant a beautiful garden. You have the skill to go and, create art with the shrubbery outside. Okay, let's let that child start with that small goal. And then once they get that done, they're like, oh, and then they have that sense of accomplishment of, I set a goal, I accomplished it, look at my work. Then you can see them develop.
One of the things we talked about in previous videos is letting your children have more ownership of their education. This is a great opportunity to develop and work on the goal setting as they set goals daily or weekly for the work that together you have decided that they need to accomplish. Or even if it's coming down from the school district, hey, here's what they need to accomplish this week. When they receive that target, that's a goal for them. Now, what's the plan? How are you going to accomplish your work this week? Don't necessarily give them their plan for the day, but allow them to say, here's how I'm going to accomplish this goal. And then when they do, a big part of goal setting and developing goal setting in your children is celebrating the success of accomplishing goals, because it will excite them about wanting to accomplish further goals. Right. And then if the goal isn't accomplished, you don't want to beat down or tear down the child or point out necessarily that they failed, but what you want to try to identify, where did we not execute properly in order to accomplish our goal? Or what factors played in us not accomplishing our goal? How can we control those? How can we handle those so that we can still accomplish that goal, even though we may not have accomplished it in the timeline that we initially had. Right. We don't want to be, oh, we failed. No, we didn't fail. We just had a setback. Right. We can still continue to work and accomplish our goals.
And then a lot of times, the failure is an opportunity to learn. And so as we are developing the love of learning in our children, we go back and we identify, okay, so where did you go wrong here? Okay, well, we'll do that differently the next time. And so, that's the process of learning.
The real thing, it's funny because goal setting is so much like systems engineering, because you have to develop a system that will help you accomplish something. And then if that system isn't working, you have to go and troubleshoot it and say, okay, where is the system not performing the way I need it to in order for me to accomplish that goal? And with your children, when it comes to something like their education, and okay, maybe I didn't give myself enough time realistically to get my work done on this day. Maybe I procrastinated and I tried to schedule everything at the end of the week. And now is an important opportunity and a good time for you to let them learn those lessons. Because if they don't learn the pain of procrastination now, they're going to learn it later in life, and it's going to be much more detrimental to them when they procrastinate and fail at a later point in life. Wherever your child is right now in the educational system, as with you homeschooling them, this is the time where you want them to learn from those shortcomings, learn from those failures, so that you can learn, you can develop from it, and the child will know, okay, I experienced this before. It's kind of like no matter how many times you tell a kid not to touch something that's hot, until they burn their finger, it's not going to register. It's the same thing when it comes to things like procrastination, things like not being able to plan properly. If we don't let them work through these processes now, when they get to be adults or when they're out there and there's more on the line, there's more at stake, they're not going to have refined those skills and learn from the failures of not properly executing those skills to be able to successfully do it when they're older, and it's going to hurt.
And one part of the AME approach is to prepare the child for the path, not the path for the child. And so when you are allowing your child to make these mistakes and to have these failures, and then have the child, go back and figure out where the lapse occurred, you're preparing your child for whatever path that they come across.
Because they'll know how to handle failure, how to analyze failure, and then how to redevelop and reassess plans in order to execute. This is important. That's why you shouldn't stop if your child fails at something, or if your child doesn't reach a goal or accomplish a goal in a set time. It shouldn't be the end. Like, oh, you didn't do it. Oh, well. No. Reassess. Continue to work towards. Show them and teach them through experience that a setback does not mean stop. A setback means reassess, reevaluate, and continue to move forward.
And that's the benefit of this time we have of homeschooling, is that you can teach your child, because your child has been taught that everything is based on a grade. I have to do it right now. But, unless you're like a surgeon, most of us don't, or maybe you build defense systems. Most of us don't have that type of
urgency.
Yeah.
People aren't dying if we make a mistake most of the time, and that's what they have to understand, And then, you want your child to be able to perform under pressure. You want them to develop to that person, but they're not going to be there day one. They're not going to be there at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And the way that they get there is not by always avoiding failure, but learning from it and learning the cost of it. Because if you recognize the cost of failures when it's small, it's easier to, okay, well, now this is major. I can't let this fail, so I have to make sure I don't make any of the mistakes I've made before that led to me failing. But they have to know what those mistakes are. And the best way for them to learn those mistakes is not from you just to tell them. They have to experience a few of them.
And that's even the fun in the process. So if you were having your child build something and you're looking and that that's not going to work, then you can have the child will have their own sense of joy and learning the process when they figure out what went wrong and they're able to do it themselves.
And then they're not afraid of your condemning them for not being able to execute. And that's a big thing that a lot of parents struggle with. How come you couldn't do that? Why didn't you do that right? Well, they're learning. It is a process. Every time is not, no matter how great your children are, every time and everything they do is not going to be great, especially the first time.
Right. And then as parents, our attitude towards it and our response towards what happens can help them, can help determine how they respond to failure. Like if you're like frustrated with them, then they're frustrated with themselves. But if you're like, okay, well, you tried really hard, let's do that again, don't give up.
Let's take a look at what the plan was, and let's see if we can tweak the plan so next time you can accomplish it.
And then your child learns to make that their inner language, so that when they confront difficulties later in life, that's the self-talk that they still have, and they're like, okay, I can do this. You know, I had a rough spot right there, but I can pick up and I can continue and I can do this.
I can do this. Now, this works with sports. This works with education. This works overall with the development of your child when it comes to the ability to set goals. We want to make sure, and then we'll talk more about, for those of you who have been in the corporate, a lot of you have heard the term SMART goals. It's very overused, but it is important at the same time. And that's another part that you can play as a parent, is making sure that your children's goals are SMART goals. Our next goal setting video will delve more into SMART goals and how you can play a part in making sure your children's goals are developed from dreams to goals to SMART goals. All right? Thanks a lot for tuning in.
Thank you.
We hope that everybody is doing well out there as we continue this homeschooling journey. We truly hope that a lot of you develop the love of homeschooling that we have, and that you'll be able to continue homeschooling your children. If you enjoyed the information, if you found it helpful, please share the video. Everyone that sees it, please share the video. We want to make sure everyone can hear and have an idea and get some support, some pointers, and some direction in some of the things that they could be doing with their homeschooling adventure.
Thank you again. Take
Love.
care. Peace and soul.